Welcome to Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda. And we are doing our own take on the 12 days of Christmas, running of course from Christmas Day, and the 12th day is the 5th of January. And today we have got to number 4. On the 4th day of Christmas, the Lord God gave to me 4 Gospels. You know, I'm so glad that there are 4 Gospels in the New Testament: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Now, of course, if we're talking about the gospel message, the essential, irreducible message by which we believe and are saved, there is one gospel, the gospel of Jesus Christ. But there are 4 gospel accounts that tell us about Jesus. And the wonderful thing is that each one of them approaches the story of Jesus from a slightly different perspective. So, for example, the Gospel of Matthew presents Jesus as being the King of the Jews, and that's why, for example, it tells us about all the different prophecies that were fulfilled with the arrival of Jesus. The Gospel of Mark was written for the Romans, and so it doesn't go a lot into a lot of Old Testament stuff, and it just races through. It's the shortest of the Gospels because the Romans were... They weren't great thinkers. They were more practically minded, and therefore they had a shorter attention span. And then the Gospel of Luke was written for a Gentile who was nevertheless interested in knowing more about Jesus. His name was Theophilus, which literally means somebody who loves God. And so the Gospel of Luke explains a lot of Jewish customs. And also in the Gospel of Luke, you can tell how there's a greater emphasis on the nations coming to God and on people outside of Israel being impacted by Jesus, and also on the role of women and how Jesus reached out to both men and women with the gospel of Jesus Christ. And by the way, the guy that wrote Luke, he also wrote the book of Acts. Acts is like Luke, part 2. And then, of course, we have John's Gospel, written by one of the apostles, and a gospel that really is just full of truth and deep theological thought. And for example, whenever Matthew or Luke give the genealogy of Jesus, descended from so-and-so, and trace it back to David or Abraham, Adam, you know what? John has that marvelous passage. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And because each of these Gospels brings a slightly different perspective and a slightly different approach, each one of them gives us a view of Jesus that the other wouldn't by itself. And so taking the 4 of them together, we have a much fuller picture of Jesus Christ. They do not contradict one another, but they complement one another. And it's almost like if you could imagine that you were a police officer and you were tasked with finding out about or investigating a road accident and finding out what really happened. And you start interviewing eyewitnesses, and one eyewitness mentions the weather conditions, that it was rainy and the road was slippery. And another eyewitness mentions the speed that the car was going. Another eyewitness noticed that the traffic lights changed too quickly. You know, the fact is that the more witnesses, they're not contradicting each other, but their different perspectives give you a fuller picture. And God, in his wisdom, did not just give us one gospel writer for the New Testament, he gave us 4. And their perspectives all coming together give us a wonderfully full picture of Jesus and why he came to earth. And just one thing I want to add to it is this. It's that sometimes people say, oh, well, you know, they use different phrases and different language and so on. You know, why aren't they all why don't they all just use the same language all the time? Well, that would actually be suspicious. That would be like the 4 of them got together and said, let's all plan this out and make sure that we're all saying the same thing. And you know what? You don't want to hear witnesses like that. You don't want to hear witnesses that have got together to get their stories straight. You want to hear witnesses that are simply telling you what they saw and what they heard and how Jesus made a difference in their lives. So today, I am so grateful that on the 4th day of Christmas, the Lord God gave to me 4 Gospels in the New Testament. So that's the 4th day, and tomorrow we'll continue with day 5 of the 12 days of Christmas. So do join us then for another Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda.